Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alisha from Alisha Be Creative, and in today's tutorial I am so excited to be part of this collab. We are doing an ugly sweater tumbler today. So this is the sweater that I am going to be trying to recreate in a tumbler form today, as well as here are all of the other participating YouTubers and channels that you're going to want to go watch to see what they create for their ugly sweater tumbler tutorial. So everything, of course, that I use in today's tutorial will be listed and linked in the description box below, as well as some discount codes for you and all the links to my social media. So let's go ahead and jump into today's collab and make our ugly sweater tumbler. I'm sure you guys can tell by my intro, but I am so excited about this collab. All of the other videos and participators in today's collab will be linked in the description, so make sure that you check all of their videos out and definitely give them all a like. So we're starting with a 32-ounce plump that I've already prepped and spray painted with this very light pink spray paint that I had on hand, and I'm now going to be applying some glitter. So we're going to do Tack It Method application for this, and you guys have seen me do this before, which is why this part of the video is sped up a bit. So I'm applying a thin coat of Tack It over and over, non-diluted, directly to my cup. Again, this is the Tack It that comes in the white bottle, not the one that comes in the brownish gold bottle. And so now that I've applied my thin coat of my Tack It, I'm going to take my heat gun and just try and speed up the process a little bit. You could just wait the 5 or 8 minutes or so to make your cup nice and dry so that it's at its tacky form, which is what we want for this glitter application process. Or you could do what I'm doing and take a hairdryer or a heat gun just to speed up the process so you can get your glitter applied. So a couple swift passes of my heat gun is really going to help me speed up that drying process and get it to this tacky stage, which I need for the glitter application. So once I feel that my cup is nice and dry and tacky to my touch, I will just double check that with my gloved hand, and then now we can apply the glitter. So we're using Full Moon from Alisha Creations. This was in her holiday mystery subscription glitter box, and it is now available on her site. This is a beautiful, beautiful color. I absolutely love this. And as I was applying this glitter and looking at how pretty it was, I was so sad to know that I was going to be rubbing or burnishing all that glitter on to my tumbler because it just looks so pretty as is. But I'm trying to recreate this sweater, so I want to be able to create a glitter look and create it under that kind of sweater feel. So now that my glitter is applied, I've put all my extra glitter back in the jar, and now I'm just going to use my gloved hand and rub down the sides of my tumbler so that all the glitter is nice and flat on my cup. So as soon as my glitter is all flat, I'm going to put this on the turner and I'm going to apply 1 coat of epoxy so we can move to the next step. Okay, so I've got 1 coat of epoxy on my cup already, and so you can see I've already printed out the sweater, cable knit sweater stencil that I have here. So I'm going to show you kind of what I did. So in order to get the dimensions of what I needed, I measured my cup around after the 1 coat of epoxy. So I measured it around the width of the cup and then also measured the length of the cup. So I will put the measurements for that right here. And then I printed, or cut rather, this stenciling from an Etsy shop that I got the stencil from, which I will link in the description box as well. And I just printed it to size so that it fit the entire cup. So we're going to kind of go through this process, and I'm definitely going to give you some tips for this because applying this cable knit sweater pattern was a big pain in my rear end because of all the teeny tiny pieces. I love the look, but my transfer tape just wasn't cutting it. So what I'm attempting to do first is to apply the entire thing like a sheet of vinyl, because I'm very familiar and very experienced with applying a full sheet of vinyl, but because these pieces were so small and were just single pieces on the back of this transfer tape, it was so hard for me to get all the pieces on the cup. So I'm going to jump to the next section, and you'll see that I struggled a bit with the first half of the cup because I tried to do it in one fell swoop, which didn't really work in my favor. So what I'm actually going to do is then start to just cut sections and remove the backing off the paper from those sections and apply it to the tumbler. So for using vinyl in kind of like a full sheet like this that has tiny pieces, I definitely would recommend that if you're able to cut and kind of piecemeal your design together on the cup in strips. It definitely works better than trying to do the full sheet. I did figure this out like halfway through struggling with the first half of the cable knit sweater vinyl pieces, and then realized that it probably would be easier if I just cut this strip by strip. So I'm going to continue to cut small sections of the pattern and then apply them to the cup, and then we will go ahead and jump to the next step of the process. With the cable knit sweater pattern applied, I'm going to put this back on the turner for another coat of epoxy. So before moving on, I wanted to show you what my canvas looked like in Cricut Design Space. I got all of these images from the Images tab in Cricut Design Space. You could also go to Google or Etsy to find some snowflake and tree images or silhouettes that you want to use for your recreation of this tumbler. I will list a couple down below in the description box for anyone who needs kind of a point in direction for some great clip art images that you can use to recreate this cup. So at this point, my cup now has 2 coats of epoxy on it, and so I'm going to take this time and opportunity to clean off my rim and sand my top rim so that I have that fine rim of stainless steel on the top of my cup that's going to help me adhere the final coats of epoxy and give this cup a really good seal. So I always use a 60 grit sanding block for the top rim of my cup. I just feel like it gives me the best results, and then I'll usually follow it up with a 120 or 220 grit sanding block. Okay, so we're going to start to apply some of the decals that I had cut with my Cricut. So this first is just a rectangle shape I created in Cricut Design Space to cover up kind of and separate the top pattern from the bottom pattern of the cable knit sweater stenciling I have here. And so I'm just using some textured metallic silver vinyl that I have on hand. You can use any color you want. I just felt that silver really went with this very fair light pink color. And so now that I have that applied, I'm going to go on to applying the tree to the top portion, which is going to be kind of the focal point and which is the centerpiece of the original sweater design. So this, I just used that silhouette that I was able to find in Cricut Design Space and cut it to be a pretty large tree in the center of the cup, because again, this is going to be the focal point and we're going to be dressing up this section of the tumbler later in the video, and I want to make sure that is kind of front and center. So with that applied, I'm now going to go to the final piece of the decals, and that is going to be me applying this Merry Christmas hand lettered file that I found in Cricut Design Space. So something that wasn't in the original picture I showed of my Design Space canvas, but you could use Merry Christmas, you could use Happy Holidays, you can do whatever you want here. This also would be a great area for you to put maybe a name or something to add to the cup. So I'm just going to get this applied, and then we are going to go on to applying the snowflakes, because we're actually going to do something a little bit unique and something I haven't ever seen done before. Okay, so I've cut my snowflakes and I've cut them kind of close to the snowflake area, and what I've done is I have, instead of removing the backing, I'm removing the middle section so it's creating a stencil. And so now that I have those stencil pieces all cut out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply these stencil pieces like I would with my transfer tape to my cup in different sections. So we're going to do something a little bit unique with this, and I'm really excited to have you guys check this out. You'll have to tell me what you think of this, but I'm going to take the opportunity right now to just apply these snowflakes in different areas, making sure that the small snowflakes are not bunched together, the larger snowflakes are really spread out, and just kind of trying to evenly place them where I feel they should go in order to give this tree kind of the effect that there are falling snowflakes around the tree area. So I'm going to finish applying this, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to dress up these snowflakes. Okay, so the snowflakes are all applied, and now I'm going to be applying some Tack It to the snowflake stencil openings. So just using a little bit of Tack It in a cup and a fine paintbrush, I'm just going to paint over the stencil image with that Tack It, and we're going to do Tack It method with the glitter application on these snowflakes. So I don't even know how I came up with this idea. It was just something that I came up with as I was coming up with this design, because on the original pattern for the Christmas sweater, the blue snowflakes that are on there, they're very subtle. You almost can't pick them up on the sweater because they almost blend into the base color of the sweater overall. So I wanted to try and recreate that. And so in racking my brain trying to do so, I came up with trying to do a Tack It method of glitter application over the stencil area. So now that I've applied all the Tack It, I'm going to do exactly like I did when I did my first layer of glitter. I'm just going to use my heat gun to speed up the process and get those areas nice and sticky. So as soon as my Tack It is sticky and ready for glitter, I'm going to be using this new glitter that I got from Glitter by Mama Boss. I will tag her in the description box below. This is by far my favorite white glitter ever. So needless to say, I have a lot of white glitter, like probably 20 to 25 bottles of just white glitter, all various shapes, sizes, you know, shifts of different colors, but this is by far my new favorite white glitter. It's like a blue shifting iridescent glitter, and it's just so pretty. So now that I've applied the glitter, I'm just going to use my dried chip brush here to just brush off any of the glitter that kind of got onto the cup and not on the stencil area. And then I'm going to do exactly like I did when I did my first application of glitter, and I am going to use my gloved hand to burnish down this glitter on the stencils. So I'm really excited with how this turned out, and I really would love for you guys to tell me what you think of this idea in the comments. I'm just excited that this came out the way I wanted it to, and you guys will get the full effect of this when I pull the stencils off, and definitely in the final clips of looking at the entire cup. But I'm just so happy that this came out, and so I'm really excited to try this technique and idea with a lot of different other styles and stencil like ideas, because I think that this is definitely something that would look super cool and super cute and a lot of different color palettes. So I can't wait to try that out. So now that I have brushed off all the extra glitter, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to remove the stencil pieces. So removing the stencils was probably the hardest part. This is a removable vinyl, but I definitely would have used a stencil vinyl, like a Cricut stencil vinyl, just because that stuff peels up a little bit better than removable vinyl does. It was a little bit tough, and I did have some pieces that I really had to struggle with. It doesn't help that right now I have long nails, and I'm not used to having long nails when crafting. I'm still kind of adjusting, so that also didn't work in my favor, and then couldn't find my tweezers, so it was like a whole mess, but I'm still so thrilled with how the look came out. I think it looks exactly like I want it to look in my head, so I'm really excited that this was something that wasn't a fail and that it came out to look exactly how I wanted it to. So I'm going to speed this portion up and show you what the final look is with the stencil removed. So now that my stencils have been removed, I'm going to go back and apply my white snowflakes. So I'm using the exact snowflakes that I used for my stencils that I now have printed out on white vinyl. And I'm going to use those snowflakes to fill some of the spaces in between the iridescent snowflakes around my entire tumbler. So I'm just picking and choosing the snowflakes that are going to fit best in those areas and just putting them where I feel they're going to look the best. And what I love about adding these white snowflakes, so although not in the original design other than just snowflakes in general, I feel like these white snowflakes really do help to bring out those iridescent snowflakes. At first look, you may not catch the snowflakes kind of as you're looking at it, but with these white snowflakes on there, it really does highlight those other iridescent snowflakes on the cup. So I'm really thrilled with how these snowflakes came out on the cup, and I'm just so excited, as I'm sure you can tell by my voiceover right now. So I'm gonna finish applying these snowflakes to the cup, and I'm going to use my two larger snowflakes to apply on the bottom portion next to Merry Christmas to give a little bit of decoration to the bottom portion of the cup as well. And then after doing so, I'm going to put this cup back on the turner for 2 full final coats on this cup. As always, I'm going to use Alumilite's Amazing Clear Cast Plus, and that is going to give me that extra UV protection for this cup before we go ahead and bling out the front portion of this tree, which is the star of the show. Okay, so now it's time to decorate the tree. So I am using 3 different stones today, and so I'm going to pour the first 2 into my 2 little bling trays that I have here. These two stones are from the Bling Boutique, which I'll link in the description box. I purchased a starter kit from her from forever ago. I'm not a huge blinger, but I do love to do things bling style every once in a while. And so I'm using the stones that I got in my starter pack today. I'm also going to be using Liquid Fusion, which is kind of my adhesive of choice when it comes to blinging. And you can use an applicator tip bottle, but for whatever reason, I couldn't find mine. So I'm just going to use a silicone makeup brush to apply my adhesive to my stenciled design here so that I can get my stones on. I also have a gem applicator that I just purchased from Amazon. If you are a big time blinger, I definitely don't recommend you picking, you know, one of these little rhinestone pickers from Amazon. I definitely would invest in a high quality one. These ones are a little bit of a pain in the butt to work with if you're someone who wants to get into blinging as like your craft of choice. So if you're choosing to start blinging as kind of your crafting outlet, I definitely would look into something like a Crystal Ninja or a Crystal Katana versus using one of these kind of cheapy ones from Amazon. It definitely gets the job done if you are just kind of starting out and want to try out blinging and see if it's something you like, but long term, definitely probably not my first product of choice. So the clear stones that I have kind of at the top portion of the screen here are 3mm stones, and so those are all the same size. And then these green ones I have here, they're a mix of 2mm to 5mm stones. So I'm going to be applying the green stones and then every once in a while throwing in some of the clear stones to give that kind of ornament look or effect to the tree design. So there are two methods for applying rhinestones. So there's the honeycomb method, which is best for straight sides and kind of going line by line, or what I'm doing, which is called the scatter method. So because I have a mix of stones of various sizes, I'm doing scatter method, which means that I am randomly picking up different stones with my application tool and applying them to the adhesive, and then just finding stones to fit in between the smaller spaces. So you are going to see me as I give you a better close-up look at me applying these stones towards the bottom portion. Some very small stones, these are like 1mm stones, I believe. They're the same clear color, they're just some that I purchased from Amazon to fill in some of those sections and areas that were too small for me to fit any of the green or clear stones that I had originally. And they're really good for the very tips of the tree there, kind of at the ends where the end of the branches are. That it was really good for using those small stones there, or in the sections that I couldn't fit any other sized stones. So this is definitely a process that is not going to take you a little bit of time. This probably took me a good 45 minutes to do. Again, even though it's not a large section that I'm blinging, because it's not the whole cup, it definitely is something that will take you some time to get through. So take your time, put on your favorite, you know, Christmas album or your favorite music to jam to, and just bling away. So I just wanted to show you guys the up close of me finishing the rhinestoning on this tree. So again, I'm just applying the different sized green stones onto the glue, and then every once in a while picking up those clear crystals to apply to the glue as well. You also get a really good look at the tree and how it's looking all together. You can see those flecks and sparkle of green, but you're also picking up those clear crystals as well. And I just feel like it's a beautiful look, especially against this pale pink background. So I'm going to finish blinging the rest of this and get this tree covered in rhinestones. And then, of course, it will be time to let this sit for another 24 hours just to let the glue sit in. I'll then take it upstairs to wash the stones with the edge of my scrub brush to give them a really good sparkle and shine, and then of course show you guys the final reveal. If you loved today's video, make sure you give this a like and subscribe to my channel, and definitely head over to the other channels and check out how they did with their ugly sweater challenge. See you guys next week.